Hello, everyone, and welcome to Harv's World for the next installment of Pirates Bay Farm. As we get started, I would like to say welcome to Harv's World to Dearmo, Phil Otto, Blake Burchell, Music Girl 8977, Robert Jezerski, Christian Miri, Aaron Desjardins, Mr. Lee White, Shane Mail, Dronissus, Mike Summerfield, Ray Green, Nitro Naughty, and Jens Hansen. Thank you all so much for joining the ride. Very much appreciate having you here, and I hope you're enjoying your time in Harv's World. So we are back in the Caribbean today, and well, things are going quite nicely. Now I've been rained out for a couple of days. As I said, when the rain comes, the rain really comes. So things have advanced quite nicely. And yeah, I'm just going to grab 2,000 liters of diesel here. Now I have picked up this tank to help me haul some liquids around in smaller quantities. That big tanker that Elizabeth brought, well, that was just a bit much for what we're doing right now, but fertilizer production is moving along quite nicely. In fact, I have all the fertilizer I think I will ever need. Needless to say. And, well, other facilities are producing quite nicely also. Now, I do want to mention that I was talking about getting the pallet production facility in place. Well, I not only managed to do that, I also managed to get the barrel production facility up and running also. Actually, it just finished up this morning, and well, I need to go get that all taken care of, so that's part of what we're doing today. And then we're going to revisit Charles Vane, pirate extraordinaire, and one of the pirates most noted for his cruelty. He was a bad guy. And he also had a serious issue with authority, as you could probably tell from the beginning of his story. He was having none of it, as I keep saying. Now, one thing you can see here, I did get Field 44 replanted, and as I said, being rained out for a couple of days, well, yeah, this crop is already ready to harvest. It is a field of soybeans, so that'll have to get taken care of sometime today now that the rain has diminished. And you can see our trees are coming in quite nicely. Now, I'm not sure we're even going to need these trees because I've got a whole bunch more, and to be honest, those trees are going to have to come out not too distant future because, well, I'm running out of room down there. But as you can see, we'll just take a look real quick. Fertilizer production is cranking, and we have almost 23,000 liters of fertilizer working there. Outstanding, absolutely outstanding. That takes care of our diesel. So that has plenty of liquid energy now to keep cranking it out. I have unloaded a bunker silo and refilled it, and lo and behold, that grass is ready ready to be mowed again. Not doing that today. Got far too much work, but I am going to top off this biogas plant very quickly. This shouldn't take long because I've got a nice supersized bucket here. Even with this crappy old wheel loader that I've got, shouldn't be too much of a hassle. This bucket will hold almost 8,000 liters, which is very nice, and it also explains the counterweight I've got on the back of this loader. Yeah, a couple more of those and we'll be good to go. This is one of the more tedious, time-consuming jobs on the farm, let me tell you. It's not as desperately necessary anymore, though. Now, granted, the silage does bring in a good income, and that's how I was, in part at least, how I was able to progress industry. One thing that I did do, though, I did load up Ann and Bonnie, and they have gone off to new homes where I'm sure they will be very, very happy. So those two horses did bring in $100,000, which was outstanding. We absolutely needed the money. That got the pallet production working. And then, like I said, I did unload a bunker silo, so that brought in a little bit of extra money and allowed me to request a build on the barrel production facility. So we are rocking and rolling. We are not wasting any time. There we go. I can't get too much more in there, so I'm not going to waste time with it. Just park this off to the side. Okay, trucking right along here. Yeah, Charles Vane, as we were discussing in the previous episode, and the sugarcane is completely planted and growing quite nicely, I might add. But Charles Vane, he was a bad dude, but he was dedicated to the pirate's life. He really was very dedicated to a pirate's life, so much so that, as we said, when he got captured, he did take a pardon and then immediately went back to pirating so hardcore that he drove one of the English right out of Nassau and sent him packing back to England. And with Nassau back in pirate hands, well, they went and did what they do. They started pirating more ships. But yeah, Vane was known to beat or torture sailors. When he took a ship, he wasn't satisfied just to take the ship. He wanted every last scrap of valuable off that ship, and he would beat and torture people until he got it. He was very feared because he was so desperately vicious when it came to his pirating. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Okay, that's not exactly fair. He was a brutal man, and as I keep saying, you know, we glorify these guys. We almost turn them into heroes. But the truth of the matter is, these were brutal, violent, vicious people who did some pretty unspeakable things. Very unspeakable things. And weren't willing to settle for whatever they were given. They were going to go out and take it. They were very angry with society, had turned their back on society, and in fact their real goal was to turn society on its head, to say, hey, things aren't right in the world, and if you can't do things the right way, then we're going to make up our own way. And Vane was very dedicated to keeping Nassau in pirate hands. He had no desire to see the British come back in and repress their pirating activities. He actually believed, and a lot of these pirates believed, that, you know, a city like Nassau, a town at the time really, would be better served by pirates who could do whatever they please without any kind of government interference. So I will just put this tractor away. In fact, this tractor needs to go back over to the grass field to get that harvested again. But that's not going to be for right now. I love that flag. And the symbol on the truck. Oh, and that's another thing. Checking in on the horses. Today, we're going to have a new colt pop out. 4 hours and 45 minutes. Right now, I need this bad boy. Grab up my trailer here. Let's see if I can't just swing it up here just enough to do some work on it. Probably not, but it's worth a try. No, but while I'm here, I should probably repair the truck. By Jove, I think I've got it. Hey, there we go. Might as well repair it also. Okay, we've got our flatbed. Off to Pirate Bay Industries. Yeah, that pasture looks so empty without the horses in there. So as I said before, Charles Vane was such a determined pirate that he actually got well, the first British. I don't know that he was even a governor, but he was definitely tasked with taking back Nassau, the Bahamas. And Vane was so determined that he convinced Pierce to leave. Harassed him so much that Pierce said, "You know what? This isn't worth it. I'm going to go back and tell everybody that they can just forget about the Bahamas because, well, there's a guy there named Charles Vane who's going to make their life completely miserable." He even managed to capture Vane once. And as I said in the last episode, Vane, well, other pirates, other captains convinced Pierce to let him go as a show of good faith. And what did Vane do? Vane took his crew, Calico Jack Rackham amongst them, went and stole another ship and harassed Pierce again. So much that he finally just said, "I'm out of here. Later, guys. Good luck. Have fun storming the castle." And so Vane is back to pirating around the Bahamas. Stealing ships, doing what pirates do. For quite some time, and Vane actually had, as pirates go, a pretty lengthy career. He was active for over 5 years, and that's a long time for a pirate, as we've discovered. Many times these guys are only good for a year or two before they are forced to give up their pirating ways. But not Charles Vane. He kept going and going. He was the Energizer Bunny of pirates, I guess. But at some point in the future, he heads back to Nassau because he wants to get married. He left the love of his life somewhere in Nassau, and look at Pirates Bay Industries. It's actually starting to look like an industrial area. And see, these trees are just about, I think they've got one more growth left in them, and then they will be ready to come out also. which will be nice because, like I said, I can just cut them and drag them right over here and they'll be in the sawmill, so no transportation necessary. Okay, we'll get back to Charles Vane in just a minute, but at this point you do know the sawmill. This is our new pallet production facility. Now this is where the boards and beams go. These are the beams, these are the boards right now. There's 34,000 liters of boards, 57,000 liters of beams. And then on this side, there's a garage door that will open or close, but this shows us how many pallets we have, how many liters of pallets. It's kind of odd the way they do that in liters, but I guess it's the only way. I don't know. But 282,000 liters of pallets. That is outstanding. Now, this is the new facility that went in today. It's not yet operational because it does not have any materials. But this is our barrel making facility. You can see right here, we've got barrels. We are getting really close to rum production, let me tell you. Now this is going to be storage when the barrels are complete. I have a bunch of boards already spawned from the sawmill, and there's a bunch more. These boards right now are going to go, this is our wood chip dumper. Right now these boards are going to go to barrel production, and then we're going to unload some pallets and get them into barrel production. You know, something I'm discovering now, I'm sure it's not always the case, but something I'm discovering is if you're working with global company, everything kind of works the same. It's just figuring out what are the different things that you need for each particular factory you want to place. But as long as you've sorted out your materials, I've also discovered that moving these pallets is better served by just sliding them along the ground instead of trying to pick them up. Okay, so we are almost fully loaded with boards here at the lovely and illustrious barrel production plant. Now we need pallets. When they make the barrels, they put them on pallets, and that's how they ship them. Empty barrels on pallets. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, there are multiple ways that we can get our pallets out of here, or a few different ways, I should say. A couple. Make up your mind, Harv. So, these are our wood chips here. Over here is our actual pallet production. And so I can step in here, and if I hit R, it will bring up my production overview, and I can see that I've got 283,500 liters of empty pallets, 15,000 liters of sections, and 15,000 liters of wood chips. Now I don't need sections for anything, so sections I can be selling off to make a little extra money if I want to, and I'm probably going to do that. But right now, I need the empty pallets. I'm going to pull all I can get. Okay, I might not pull all I can get. That's 48 pallets. Let's start with 20 and see where that gets us on the barrel production. So I'm going to spawn 20 pallets of pallets. And you can see they just dropped out there in the yard. Now I can do this also remotely. If I hold Control and hit G, will bring up my global company menu. I can see all of my factories. That's on the first tab right up here. I can see every factory I've got working at the moment. And I just wanted to spawn pallets. So if I click on one of these, it turns blue. I come down here, open the overview menu, and then I can look at the different productions that I can do here. Now the pallet production factory, I only care about making pallets. But if I've got more beams than I need, I can bring those beams in here and tell this to turn those beams into boards, so I can get more boards if I need them. And you can do that with any of your factories. You can see exactly what that factory will produce. And look at all these pallets sitting around out here now. I just have to do what I did before, grab them up, and luckily I've set this up in such a way that they're nice and easy to move. And look at those pallets start dropping in there. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Okay. Barrel production is up and running. Let's take a look and see. So we've got pretty darn full. We've got our wood boards. We've got our pallets. Production is active. It hasn't produced anything yet, but it is. It's starting to produce. So it's going to take a minute before it cranks anything out. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at my factories. I'm going to start with the sawmill. And again, the sawmill has stopped producing because it's full again of boards. It will just crank out the boards, let me tell you. In fact, I could spawn these boards and move them right in here because we're a little bit low on boards, and I could probably do the same thing with beams. In fact, let me do that real quick, and then we'll get back to what my plan is after that. Okay, pallet production is loaded back up again. In that time, we have started producing some barrels, and you can see the pallets of barrels coming out right here. These are going to be nice little casks of rum when we're all done. So where was I before? Well, I was going to look at my factories. I'm going to start with the sawmill. And I want to see anything that I'm not going to need. Like, I don't need these sections. I need the boards, I need the bars, and I do need the wood chips. But I don't need the sections, so I can spawn those out. And I don't need the bark mulch, but that would have to be loaded like I would wood chips, so I won't be able to spawn those. If I go back and look at my pallet production, it's also producing sections, and I can get 3 pallets out of there. Actually, let me move my truck in a little bit closer. I'm going to load all of these sections, and we're going to go find out what kind of money can be made for them. I'm really interested to find out. I know import-export will buy them. So apparently, Charles Vane left the love of his life on Nassau and decided to head back there one day because he wanted to get married. Now, it's, you know, kind of interesting to think that you've got this psychopathic pirate, which, I mean, he had to be. Who could brutally torture and beat somebody just to get some extra money out of them and not be a psychopath, right? I mean, think about it. But I guess even psychopaths need love too. I don't know, but actually this will work quite nicely. I can push these right over to the far edge. That works. And while he was there, lo and behold, who comes strolling along? No. Sailing along, I should say, but Woodes Rogers. Woodes Rogers shows up in Nassau with his fleet of 8 ships and blockades the harbor. And of course, everybody knows Charles Vane at this point, and what a bad dude he is. And I am really sick of that airplane going overhead, I have to tell you, because it is loud. So loud. And Charles Vane is trapped. I mean, he can hide out pretty much for as long as he wants to. That's not even a problem. The problem is he's a pirate. He needs his ship, and he needs that ship out of the harbor. But the harbor is now blockaded by Woodes Rogers. Well, a little thing like a ship blockade isn't going to stop someone like Charles Vane. And Vane had, Vane had more than one ship at this point. As many of these pirate captains did. You know, you see these pirate captains and you think, and in part that's because of the way the media has portrayed them, but you think of them as a ship captain. Well, they were more like admirals than captains at this point. Many of them, because, you know, they're pirating ships. A lot of times, if they pirated a particularly good one, or one that they thought would serve their purposes, they would keep that ship, put a trusted person in charge of it, not necessarily as captain, but to man the ship for them, run the ship for them. Oh, come on, Harv. Oh, that'll do. They'll slide into places I need them to. And they would have multiple ships. Well, Vane had more than one ship. In Nassau, he needs to make a getaway. What's he going to do? Well, cleverly, I might add, he takes one of his ships and sends it hurtling toward Woodes Rogers' blockade. Now, I think at this point we all know these ships are all made of cloth and wood. I mean, big cloth sails. We've got wood ships. What would be particularly dangerous aboard a wooden cloth ship? Fire, of course. And that's what Charles Vane does. He sends his ship hurtling towards Woodes Rogers' blockade of ships and lights it on fire. And because Woodes Rogers doesn't want his fleet to burn to the ground, what does he do? Well, he gets out of the way. And during the confusion, the scramble to get out of the way, that was a little more than I wanted, but hey, it'll work. Perfect. I love it when a plan comes together. So Woodes Rogers cuts his anchor cables. He's scrambling to get his ships out of the way because he doesn't want them to burn to the waterline. And in the confusion, Charles Vane makes his escape. Escape. And he sails out of Nassau. And of course he vows to come back, make Woodes Rogers' life miserable, and retake Nassau and make it once again a pirate haven, a pirate community. To return to the ways of Henry Avery, who first opened the doors in Nassau, if you recall, when we talked about him, by bribing the governor at the time. Henry Avery was pretty much a, I think a religious figure might be a little bit of an extreme, but I mean, you know, these people, they looked up to him. He was their hero. He did it right. He made all the money. Again, nobody knows what happened to Henry Avery after Nassau. But still, these pirates thought Henry Avery was the cat's meow. And they vowed to keep Nassau in pirate hands. Well, Charles Vane was no different. He came back to... or he vowed to come back and take Nassau from Woodes Rogers. And he promptly sailed north and started harassing ships around Charleston in what is now the United States. It wasn't then. Then it was just British. They were British colonies, so, you know, Vane is pretty much just harassing the British. But he does manage to pirate 8 ships around Charleston, and he gets out of Dodge once again. He's a reasonably smart pirate, so it would seem. You know, he does what he does, but then he knows that he can't stay in one place for too long before he's got to move on. Well, Charleston was obviously annoyed, to say the least, and they decide to hire up some pirate hunters. And we're just going to park this up right here because that's going to take care of our sections. We've got them loaded up quite nicely. We will strap them down and start heading down to the import-export office because I know they buy wood products. So Charleston hires pirate hunters, and the pirate hunters go out. They're searching for Charles Vane, but they don't find Charles Vane. They do, however, capture a famous pirate. They capture Stede Bonnet. So indirectly, Charles Vane is responsible for Stede Bonnet's downfall. Because if he hadn't been mucking about in Charleston and making life miserable for Charleston, well, Stede Bonnet may not have gotten caught. He would have eventually. I mean, let's face it, he wasn't a very good pirate. But, yeah, Charles Vane, at least partly responsible for the downfall of Stede Bonnet. And I know they've got a special place just for wood products. Oh, yeah, it's back here. There we go. And it looks like I might... Nope, it's taking them. Might have to rock back and forth just a little bit here. Yeah, it's dumping. Okay, there we go. Well, those sections didn't bring in a lot, but 20 grand. 20 grand I didn't have a few minutes ago, so I will take it. And at this point, industry should be running quite nicely indeed. And it's time to head back up to the farm. So now Charles Vane is out there, and he's got Benjamin Hornigold on his tail. Since Woodes Rogers showed up, Hornigold took Woodes Rogers' pardon, and now he's been tasked with capturing Charles Vane. That was his main target. With Hornigold hot on his tail, well, Vane decides to careen his ship on a place called Abaco Island. He's got an accomplice there named Nicholas Woodall. It's interesting to me how they know all of these people's names and how they were connected, but careening a ship You know, that's hardcore. I mean, that's basically bringing your ship into an island, almost bringing it up on the beach so you can scrape the hull. You know, ships build up a lot of barnacles and stuff, and that will slow a ship down in the water. So from time to time, they had to bring their ships out and scrape the hulls clean so they could get better speed through the water. He resupplies while he's there with the help of his pal, Nicholas, and manages to get the heck out of Dodge once again just before Hornigold shows up. He slips the noose, if you will. Hornigold does, however, capture Nicholas Woodall and takes him back to Nassau for trial. Now, Vane, as I said, had decided he was going to go back and recapture Nassau. He wanted it back in pirate control. The heck with this Woodes Rogers guy who just thought he could waltz in there and do whatever he wanted to. We're not having any of that. So what does he do? Well, he goes to one of the most powerful pirates of his time. He sails his ship to Oracoke Island. Now, Oracoke Island is known to be Blackbeard's stronghold. It's where he keeps his pirate lair, and he meets with Blackbeard. Unfortunately for Vane, nothing comes of that meeting, except some good times where crews got together and partied, drank. And a few days later, he sails away empty-handed. Blackbeard says, "No, Nassau's your problem. I'm good to go right here. Take care, brother, and good luck, best wishes." All of that jazz. Well, not long after this, and now, mind you, Jack Rackham is still Vane's quartermaster at this time. They run into a French frigate, and now, one of the tricks that pirates would use, because pirates are no different than anybody else, they don't like the idea of possibly being killed in the line of their job. So one of the things they would do is say they saw a British merchant ship and they wanted to capture it. Well, they would put up a British flag indicating that they were friendly. They would approach the ship, and when they got just to the right distance, they would drag down that British flag, put up their Jolly Roger, and try to terrify the ship into surrender. A lot of times this worked. Well, the French weren't stupid, and they decided, well, if that's what the pirates are going to do, I think we just might have to do the same thing. And lo and behold, Vane goes after a French merchant ship, or what he thinks is a French merchant ship. Well, when he's in close enough for an attack, the French put up a naval flag. And lo and behold, this is a warship that Vane is now up against. Even though he's got two ships to this one, it's a much bigger ship. He decides he's outgunned, turns tail, and runs away. Well, Jack Rackham at this point had had enough. He got the crew together and said, Vane, you were a cowardly fool, and we don't want you as our captain anymore. And remember, I've said before, pirate captains were often deposed by their crews. This was not a new situation. Hornigold was deposed by his crew at one point, and he was one of the most respected pirate captains of all time. One of the most respected captains of all time, pirate or otherwise. So Jack Rackham takes charge of the ships. He puts Vane and anybody who supports him, including a first mate by the name of Deal, puts them aboard the smaller ship. Rackham keeps the larger ship and says, "See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Go away. We'll go do our own thing because we don't need a coward in charge of our ship." Well, like I said, Vane is a hardcore pirate. He's not going to be slowed down by any of this. He takes his small ship and starts capturing more small ships. Sloops, as they're known. And I've told you, pirates like sloops because they're quick and they can get in places where larger ships can't go because they don't sink as deep in the water. They don't draw as much water, as they say. Well, he captured another ship. He put Deal in command of it, his first mate in command of it. And while they're out sailing, a hurricane whips up, and these guys are caught in a hurricane, separated, and Vane never sees Deal again. But Vane's ship is torn to pieces, and he is marooned on an uninhabited island. This actually happens. Not even necessarily by pirate crews, just getting rid of unwanted crew members, but obviously you're in a ship, bad weather comes up, you lose your ship, and you hope there's an uninhabited island around that will give you some chance of survival. Well, clearly Vane is experienced at the art of survival, and he does survive on this uninhabited island. And as it turns out, this island was also a place where ships would stop from time to time to take on fresh water. Well, a British ship just happened to stop by the island to collect fresh water, and Vane gave them a false name, and they took him aboard. Who knows what circumstances he made up to say why he was there. But lo and behold, when you are as famous, or I should say infamous, as Charles Vane, people know who you are, and somebody aboard the ship recognized him, pointed him out, turned him into the captain, and he was arrested. He was taken to Spanish Town, Jamaica, and put in prison. Now, he must have been in prison for some time, because the hurricane took down his ship in 1719. But ultimately, he was not tried for piracy until 1721, so he was definitely in prison for a good long time. A couple of years, anyway. But ultimately, he was tried for piracy, and he was hanged in Port Royal on or about the 22nd of March, 1721. And of course, as was the practice of the day, people wanted to send a message. They hung his body out for everybody to see. This be what happened to pirates. Don't be coming around here doing your piracy, because we're not having it anymore. We're sick of you guys. And so therein came the demise of one Charles Vane, pirate extraordinaire. He was one of the best of the best. And he was a true, full-blown pirate. He loved the pirate life and had no intention of ever giving it up. And, I mean, it seems to me he firmly believed that nobody should give it up. That it was something that was far better than living under the constraints of society, under the yoke of somebody else. Charles Vane was sticking it to the man. That's really what we're talking about here. Charles Vane was sticking it to the man being the British mostly, but pretty much any country's ship he could get his hands on. So we've got our industry up and running. The sawmill, which is producing boards and beams. Boards and beams are producing pallets. Pallets and boards are now producing barrels. There's only one real step left. Getting a distillery in place and harvesting the sugarcane, which is coming along nicely. Not as quick as these soybeans did, but it is coming along. I'm actually kind of afraid of harvesting that sugarcane because, well, frankly, I feel like it's going to be a long process. You saw how long it took to plant that stuff. Well, I have a feeling harvesting it is going to be an even bigger nightmare, but we're going to see. We'll see. At least I don't have my fertilizer woes anymore. Global company is being very, very good to us. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Pirates Bay Farm. I'm going to keep harvesting these soybeans and make sure industry stays up and running so that we are ready when rum production can begin. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Don't forget, Harv's World does have a Facebook page and a Discord server if you're so inclined. I really appreciate you coming along for the ride. And until next time, take care.